I never thought sharing an apartment with Jake would be a problem. He was just a friend of a friend when he moved in, tall, athletic, cocky in that harmless, frat boy way. The kind of guy who'd flash a grin and get away with murder. He said he needed a short-term sublet while his condo finished renovations. I had the space. He had the charm. Simple. Except it wasn't simple. Not for me. From the moment Jake dropped his gym bag by the door, shirt clinging to his back with sweat and his breath just slightly ragged, I felt something shift. Not the slow, creeping kind of attraction. No, it hit like heat behind the eyes. Immediate. Dangerous. He stripped off his t-shirt before even asking where his room was. "You mind if I use your shower?" he asked, already walking toward it. I did mind. I minded a lot. I've been openly gay since I was 17. My boyfriend, Eric, and I have been together for 3 years, solid, functional long distance. He lives in Portland, where he's launching his own design firm. We FaceTime. We send care packages. We say all the right things. But in person? It's been 8 months. Jake was straight, or at least, that's what everyone said. His Instagram was full of models and microbrews. His ex-girlfriend once told me, in passing, Jake could charm a nun into bed. He wasn't shy about the details either. I overheard more moans through our paper-thin walls in the first 2 weeks than I'd heard in my own bedroom in the last year. He brought women home like it was a hobby. Always different, always casual. I told myself I was disgusted. I told myself I was above it. But every time he passed me shirtless on a lazy Sunday, sipping coffee and scratching his chest, something inside me clenched. We became friends. That was the real problem. Jake wasn't just hot. He was good company. He made me laugh with zero effort. He listened, even when I wasn't saying anything particularly interesting. One night, I came home stressed from a deadline and found him cooking spaghetti in boxers and a backwards cap, blaring Arctic Monkeys. He poured me a glass of wine without asking, said, "Rough day? Sit. I got you." He got me. That was new. Eric always wanted updates, what I was doing, who I was with, how the move was going. It wasn't cold, but it was administrative. Functional. Like a weekly check-in between coworkers. I couldn't remember the last time I told him something vulnerable and didn't immediately regret it. With Jake, the smallest things felt electric. Late one Friday, we ended up watching a horror movie together, curled on opposite ends of the couch. Halfway through, a jump scare made me flinch. Jake laughed and threw a blanket over both of us. Our legs touched. Just barely. Neither of us moved. That's when I noticed he was looking at me. Not just glancing. Looking. His mouth opened slightly, like he was about to say something but changed his mind. "Cold?" he asked. I nodded. He didn't say anything else. Just leaned a little closer. After that night, things shifted. The way he looked at me lingered a beat too long. His touches, brief, careless seeming, started feeling intentional. His jokes turned flirtatious, always followed by a grin that said just kidding, unless? I didn't act on it. I didn't even fully let myself believe it was real. Jake was straight. He dated women. He wasn't the type to fall into bed with his gay roommate just because the lighting was good and the couch was soft. But then, neither was I the type to want someone who treated affection like a game. Still, I found myself leaning into it. I started taking longer to get ready in the mornings if I knew he was around. Wearing cologne I hadn't used in months. Laughing too hard at his stupid jokes. Noticing things, his cologne, his hands, the small mole on his lower back when he bent over to tie his sneakers. One night, Jake came home late, visibly tired but still buzzing with that boyish energy he never seemed to lose. We sat in the kitchen at midnight, sharing a leftover pizza, talking about relationship. "You and Eric still solid?" he asked casually. "We're trying," I said. "Distance sucks." He nodded. "I don't get how you do it. I need contact. The real thing." The way he said it, contact, made my skin flush. I didn't answer. There was silence. His hand brushed mine when he reached for another slice. He didn't pull back. I didn't either. Then he looked at me. Really looked. His eyes weren't playful this time. They were serious. Searching. There was a question in them, one I didn't dare answer. Nothing happened. Not that night. But it could have. God, it almost did. Jake didn't mention the kitchen moment the next morning. He just passed me the coffee mug like nothing had happened, like he hadn't stared at me with eyes full of questions the night before. I tried to act normal too, but my hand trembled when it brushed against his. After that, it started happening more often, small moments loaded with too much weight. He'd throw his legs over mine on the couch during movies. When I asked if he wanted me to move, he'd just smirk and say, "Nah, you're comfy." His fingers lingered when he handed me a beer. His body heat hovered when we stood too close in the kitchen. None of it was overt, but it was something. Eric, meanwhile, was slipping further away. Missed calls. Delayed replies. A birthday gift that arrived 2 weeks late and still had the price tag on it. He said he was swamped with work, but all I felt was distance. I stopped bringing him up to Jake. It just felt pointless. Then came the night that changed the air between us completely. It was a Saturday. Jake had plans, some date with a bartender he met on Bumble. I planned to stay in, wine, headphones, maybe finally finish that novel collecting dust on my nightstand. Around 10, I heard the door slam and Jake stormed in, jacket slung over his shoulder, hair tousled like he'd walked through a storm. "She ghosted," he said, throwing his keys into the bowl. "Didn't even text to cancel. Just didn't show." He cracked open a beer and collapsed onto the couch beside me without asking. "Her loss," I offered. He looked at me. "Too long. You ever feel like you're not what people want?" The question hit like a slap. I blinked. "All the time." We talked for hours. About dating, love, loneliness. The kind of conversation you usually avoid unless there's too much alcohol or not enough light. Jake was more open than I'd ever seen him, confessing he sometimes felt like he was on autopilot with women. Like he was just playing a role he didn't audition for. "I don't even know what I want half the time," he said. "I just know when something feels real." And then there it was, that pause. That unbearable, pregnant silence. His knee brushed mine. Neither of us moved. "I've never hooked up with a guy," he said suddenly. "Not once." My throat went dry. "But I think about it," he added, his voice low. "Not with anyone. Just, I don't know. You." I couldn't breathe. "You're drunk," I managed. "I've been drunk before. This isn't that." He leaned in a little. Not enough to kiss me. Just enough to make me feel the possibility. Then he stood up. "I'm gonna swim," he said, peeling off his shirt and heading for the backyard. "You coming?" We didn't have a pool. We had a building-wide rooftop one with a keycard entrance and late-night access. 10 minutes later, we were waist-deep in cold water, the city glowing around us. Jake laughed like a boy and splashed me hard. I shoved back. It became rough, playful, chaotic, then suddenly quiet. He floated closer, chest bare, hair slicked back. "You ever skinny dip?" I stared. "No." "Come on," he grinned. "Live a little." Before I could answer, his shorts were off and tossed to the side. He disappeared under the surface, sleek and confident. When he emerged, he looked straight at me, daring. I hesitated, then followed. The water felt electric. Naked, exposed, I couldn't hide the fact that I wanted him. I wasn't sure if I'd ever stopped wanting him. We drifted close, our legs grazing. He stared at my mouth, then at my eyes. "I don't know what I'm doing," he said, voice low. "You don't have to," I whispered. His fingers touched my waist under the water. It wasn't an accident. And then, just like that, he pulled away. "I shouldn't," he muttered, climbing out and grabbing his clothes. I sat alone in the pool, heart pounding, chest tight. Water lapped around me, indifferent to the storm inside. The walk home was silent. He didn't look at me. just threw a towel over his shoulders and disappeared into his room. The door clicked shut. The next morning, he acted like it hadn't happened. Again. That night, Eric called. His voice was warm, casual, like nothing had changed. "I miss you," he said. I didn't say it back. Instead, I stared at Jake's closed door and realized with a sick twist in my stomach, I didn't know who I was anymore when I was around him. For 3 days, Jake avoided me. Not in obvious ways. He still came home, still tossed his keys into the bowl and flashed that default grin. But his eyes skipped over mine, his jokes aimed around me instead of at me. He was pretending nothing had happened on that rooftop, like we hadn't floated naked in silence, hearts beating so loud they might have cracked the water. I should have let it go. I should have taken the hint and buried it like every other bad idea I've ever entertained. But desire doesn't care about dignity. It doesn't care about loyalty either. It was Thursday night when the line finally snapped. I'd been up late, pacing the living room with music low and whiskey warm in my throat. Jake came in around midnight, sweaty, pissed off, eyes stormy. "Everything okay?" I asked carefully. "She ghosted," he muttered. "Different girl this time. We had plans. She bailed last minute." "That keeps happening," I said before I could stop myself. He glared at me, then laughed bitterly. "Yeah. Starting to feel like a pattern." He collapsed onto the couch. I didn't sit right away. I hovered. "You don't have to chase girls who treat you like crap, you know," I said quietly. Jake looked up at me. "Yeah? Who should I chase instead?" The room stilled. It happened too fast for logic. I sat. He moved. Our mouths met halfway. No hesitation this time. No teasing, no testing boundaries. Just heat, skin, breath. His lips were firm, desperate. His hands were on my chest, my neck, sliding under my shirt like he needed to prove something. I responded with equal hunger. Weeks of tension exploded in a moment that felt violent in its urgency. We didn't speak. We didn't need to. I don't remember how we got to my bedroom, just that we did. I don't remember who undressed whom. I just remember how quiet it got when our bodies met, how loud everything inside me was. The guilt was there, buried under adrenaline, under need. It was raw, fast, messy, beautiful in that ruinous way. And when it was over, I stared at the ceiling and felt nothing but silence ringing in my ears. Jake sat at the edge of the bed, breathing hard, hands trembling like he didn't know what to do with them. He looked over his shoulder, eyes unreadable. "I need a shower," he said, voice barely above a whisper. Then he left. He didn't say goodnight. He didn't look back. I lay in bed alone, body still buzzing, mind in collapse. My phone buzzed. A message from Eric. "Miss you. Just 2 more weeks." I didn't reply. The next morning, Jake was already gone. No note. No text. Just silence. That silence stretched. Hours turned into days. When we crossed paths, it was like we'd been surgically removed from each other. He went back to gym routines and casual girls. I went through the motions of work, barely present. Then, on Saturday, I saw him with a new girl. Blonde. Glossy. Laughing loudly at some joke he barely told. They kissed at the elevator. My stomach twisted. He caught my eye for half a second. His smile faltered, but only for a moment. Then the doors closed, and he was gone again. That night, I drank too much wine and stared at myself in the mirror. I didn't like what I saw. I looked hollow. Like someone who couldn't figure out if he was the villain or the victim in his own story. I called Eric. "Hey," he said, chipper. "Guess what? I booked the trip. I'll be there next weekend." My heart stopped. He was coming. Here. To this apartment. To the scene of the crime. That's great," I choked out. "I can't wait to see you," he said. "I've missed you so much." I started, but the words dissolved. What would I even say? "Hey babe, while you were working 80-hour weeks, I was getting railed by my straight roommate?" I hung up before I could finish the sentence. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, Jake was in the kitchen making eggs, acting like nothing had happened. Like he hadn't split me in two with a kiss, a touch, a night I couldn't forget. You and Blondie serious now? I asked, the bitterness slipping out before I could catch it. He didn't flinch. It's nothing. Like we were nothing? Jake dropped the spatula with a clatter and turned slowly. Don't do that, he said. Don't act like you didn't know what this was. Then tell me, I challenged. What was it? He looked me dead in the eyes. A mistake. It hit like a slap. He grabbed his plate and left the room without another word. I stood there, heart roaring in my chest, hands trembling with something between fury and heartbreak, and for the first time I realized I wasn't the one in control. I never was. Eric arrived on a Friday afternoon, suitcase in hand, smile bright. He looked tired, exhausted, really, but lit up when he saw me. God, I've missed you, he said, pulling me into a long hug. His lips found mine, slow and familiar. I kissed back. I let him hold me. But something inside me didn't rise to meet him. Something was fractured, too deep to ignore. He noticed it almost immediately. You're quiet, he said later that night, when we were curled up in bed, our legs tangled, his hand tracing slow circles on my chest. Is everything okay? I lied. Just overwhelmed. Work's been crazy. He nodded, accepting it too easily. We made love, soft, practiced, affectionate. It felt like muscle memory. It felt like pretending. Jake wasn't home. He'd started avoiding the apartment entirely since our last argument, staying out late, crashing with friends. The tension was a wound that refused to scab. The next day, I found Jake in the laundry room, hunched over the dryer, eyes sunken from lack of sleep. He didn't look at me. So he's here. Yeah. A long silence followed. The hum of the machine filled the space between us like static. Jake exhaled. I thought maybe you'd tell him. What would that change? I asked, arms crossed. He shrugged. I don't know. Maybe it'd mean it wasn't just some secret. I laughed bitterly. You called it a mistake. You made it pretty clear where you stand. He turned, jaw tight. You think I meant that? I was scared. I didn't know what else to say. Then say something now. Jake looked at me, really looked at me, for the first time in days. His voice cracked when he spoke. I felt something that night. I still do. Then why run? Because I'm not like you, he said. I don't have this figured out. I don't know what I am. All I know is, when I'm around you, nothing makes sense, and I hate how much I want it to. I stepped closer. Then maybe stop hiding. But he stepped back. I can't. And that was the truth. He couldn't. Not now. Maybe not ever. I walked away. That night, Eric cooked dinner. Candlelight, wine, soft jazz. He was trying so hard to reconnect. I wanted to match his effort, to feel what I used to feel. But every laugh felt hollow. Every kiss was borrowed. Halfway through dessert, I blurted it out. I slept with someone. His fork froze midair. I swallowed. While we were apart. It was one time. It meant something. And I regret it, but not in the way you think. Eric stared at me like I'd disappeared and been replaced with a stranger. Who? He asked, voice quiet. Jake. His face twisted. Your roommate. I didn't plan it. It just happened. Silence swallowed the room. Then he stood up, walked to the sink, and braced himself against the counter like he was holding back a scream. I flew across the country for this, he whispered. I know. You could have told me before I came. I didn't know how. Eric turned, pain carved into every line of his face. Do you love him? I hesitated. I don't know, I said finally. He nodded, blinking fast. Then you already have your answer. He packed that night. Didn't yell. Didn't beg. Just folded his shirts with quiet fury and left before sunrise. I didn't cry. I thought I would, but I didn't. The apartment was quiet again. Just me. And Jake's absence pressing on every surface like dust. 3 days later, I found a note on the kitchen counter in Jake's handwriting. Can't stay here. Not like this. I need to figure out who I am without destroying you in the process. Jay. I stared at it for a long time. No goodbye. No promise. Just an open wound and the echo of what we could have been. Weeks passed. I started sleeping with the door open, not because I expected anyone to walk through it, but because I didn't want to pretend anymore. About anything. I told my friends the truth. I told my therapist even more. I began the long, unsexy work of cleaning up the mess I'd helped create. Then, one night, I got a text. Unknown number. Just 3 words. Are you okay? I stared at the screen. My thumb hovered. I didn't answer. I just let the silence sit there, for once, not as a punishment, but as a boundary. Sometimes the line isn't crossed all at once. Sometimes it erodes, slowly, silently, until you look down and realize the ground beneath your feet is gone. Jake had crossed mine. I'd crossed Eric's. And somewhere in the wreckage, I had to figure out what I stood for when no one else was looking. Not every love story ends in love. Some end in clarity.